Hello there, it's Nigby. A couple of the people on UK Locksport have asked me to go into a little bit more detail about the resin inserts that I've started doing on my picks. So this is just an introduction. This is a piece of olive wood that I found on a walk in one of my last trips to Spain. So I'm going to have a go at turning this. So this is just a little introduction to this video, just to show how this is starting off. I don't know if I'm going to successfully turn this on. I've never turned anything so oddly shaped before, but I'll do a few little montage of me turning and getting to the point where the resin goes in, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail of the resin point, or you may never see this and something spectacular has gone wrong again. Okay, so cut back to this in a little bit. Okay, managed to get it this far, got it balanced and round. It is slightly tapering towards this way. That's the start of the cut for for the slim part of the handle. So I'll just keep going with this now. So all of this is not a pick. It produces one hell of a lot of sawdust. So yeah, I'll carry on. Okay, that's the basic shape in. I've got a bit of sanding to do. Need to do a lot of prep work on it before I cut the channels for the wood. The wood's turned out a lot lighter than I was expecting. I was hoping for more of a figured olive wood. I can see some grain in there, so hopefully the finishing oils and whatever will bring that out more. So the next step, I'm going to sand this up to a nice finish, and then I'm going to cut 2 channels in there, and I think I'm going to go for green resin in there, which might offset the olive wood quite well. So next step coming up. I'll come back to you when I've cut the channels in. Okay, we're having a good day. That is the channels for the resin to sit in cut. Just sort of done by eye with a little bit of measuring to make sure that they're roughly the same. So cut nice sharp edges coming in, but that's really, I've just roughed that up with the very fine tip of the chisel to give the resin plenty to bond to in there. Yeah, it's all going too well. See you in the next episode, where I've got to clean up all of this sawdust. It's got to be nice and clean for the resin. See you in a minute. Point of interest: how much isn't a pick compared with how much is a pick. Okay, so resin time. So we've got UV set-in resin. This is the colour that I've decided to put into this pick, and I'm just going to mix a small amount of resin, well, enough to do it, I hope. Mix the resin with the mica powder to the colour density that I want for the pick, and then I'll come back. I shan't film me mixing it, but this is the process. And then I'll come back and I'll just film and maybe talk a little bit if I can. It's just a time-consuming process. So here we go. Let's have a quick look to see. That's in shot. Okay, so literally just collect some resin up and just drop it into the groove. And that then needs to be slowly dragged around and pushed right into the corners of the groove. And what you're aiming for here is just an even coat, not trying to fill the groove at all. Just need to fill it so that the resin bonds nicely to the wood and gives a secure base. If you try and go too fast and overfill, it just doesn't work. And I'm just turning the lathe by hand. I'll just move this around here so you can see what I'm doing with this. I'm just dragging the resin, the very fine point, and just pushing it where I can see that there isn't a good coat. I'm just peering over to look to see if this is actually filming, else I'm going to have wasted all the time prior to this. Okay, so just move the resin out of shot, cover it, because obviously it's UV set-in resin, and then I'm going to cure it with UV light. And yes, this is it's one of those things that they use for UV nail polish. The UV kit that I bought is a basic kit, and that's what it came with. It works okay, but what I try and do is try and get one of the LEDs right on top of the work if I can. Okay, that will the LED has a little auto timer on it, so it cuts off. I don't know how long it is actually, but I do try and be patient enough to sit through one of the cycles, just for some of them anyway. It's going to get a few more coats before I'm finished. So there we go, that's finished. That will be hard now, but just to be sure, I'll now start work onto the second channel. So same thing, just pick up some resin, slowly drip it in, set that aside, and then just drag that resin around. And just push it into the corners where I can see that it hasn't gone, quite what you're seeing on the other side. I can see the gaps where it isn't filling at all. So you just got to be patient with this bit. There's absolutely no point in trying to rush it. I need to push it over to my right. I suppose that's your left as you're watching from camera. And just keep going and keep going. Any air bubbles that I see, I try and just lift out with the tip of the silicone spatula. Okay, and as I say, I'll just show you what I'm doing from that point. I'm just dragging the resin to where I can see that there's gaps, so this side. And I think that's okay. Give that's it. Cover the resin over and give that a cure with the UV light, and of course that's giving a second cure to the first one. I do try and look away at this point. I've got a sneaking suspicion that this UV light's no good for your eyes, and I'm not wearing any protective gear. YouTube don't ban me for that. So yeah, I just sort of shut my eyes, look away, and hope for the best. That's men and health, I suppose, isn't it? I'm working. Just hope for the best is the best health and safety policy going. Okay, so I'm going to stop filming this now, but what I do is slowly build up. I'll come back to you at the last stage of this UV, else this is going to be an enormously long video, because this is just a very slow process. Okay, that's gone through its second set. Let's have a look, see if it's still filming. So I'll give you a close-up look at how that is at the moment. So yeah, that's slowly filling up. As I say, I'll come back to you after. It's going to be another 5 goes at doing that before this is full to the extent that it needs to be. As I say, going to be a very long video, so I'll just slowly work my way through that now. Okay, that's many layers. It actually took about 7 or 8. What you're trying to achieve is, I'm just doing this while I'm trying to be patient. What you're trying to achieve is a slight doming to the resin, so it comes proud of the wood, because we're going to slowly cut that back, so everything is then flush, and then polish everything up. So this is me. I've got my little treat. I've got you can't see it. I've got a milky coffee latte thing. It's my one treat for the weekend, and this is just me slowly turning this by hand under the UV light so that it sets as hard as possible before we start the polish, the sanding and polishing of the resin. So yeah, it looks a little bit weird on the camera. I can see that. I'm just sort of peering over. There we go. UV light's timed out. I'm going to go through this UV another 5 times just to make sure that resin is as hard as possible. But I shan't make you sit through it. The resin set at long last. So what I need now is to sand it back flush with the wooden handle. So to use this, I've got a piece of flat angle iron, just a piece of aluminium, and some 600 grit wet and dry, which we use wet. So I've got a little bowl of water over here, just out of shot. And so as you can see, that's a lovely shiny finish, and we're just about to wreck that. So let's see how this goes on. Now keep this working wet, and what you're looking for is that slurry that's coming off. That white slurry is good. Okay, and just stop to check the work. Yeah. Okay, and the reason I keep going out of shot is because I keep wetting the wet and dry so that it clears the slurry. And it's just another question of being very patient, checking the work by hand. And it's got to clear. Again, check the work by hand, the feel of how flush that is coming. Okay, I can feel that coming in now. It's not far off close. Little bit more. Okay, that is the right angle for the camera. You can see that that is pretty much flush. So at this point I will trust the feel of my fingers rather than the aluminium plate, and just a little bit more without the plate there. Maybe a little bit more with the plate now. Okay, I'm going to stop that at that. So we'll use this bit of kitchen roll that I'm just using under here just to clean things up slightly. So that doesn't look too bad. That's 600 grit. Then these are the absolute magic ingredient. These are micro mesh polishing pads. I shan't go through everything that I'm sure everybody's seen about these things before, but they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 polishing pads from 1500 to 12,000 grit, and you just use them one by one, use them wet and very gently. Before I start, so as you can see at this point, let's see if we can get a zoom. Can't really zoom. So we've ruined what was a nice shiny finish, very dull, mottled. So this is where the polishing pads come in. So very gentle touch with them. And you keep them nice and wet. And just slowly go through the grades. you don't want a hard pressure at all. It's very, very light. This is the last one. Was that all out of focus? Frustrating. But there you go. That's the finished effect of polishing with the micro mesh pads. I will give over a little bit more, but off camera. Next step will be getting this nice and dry, applying the finishing oil to it, and then we're going to see what sort of effect that we fully get. So this is the bit where we find out that what looks, I mean, it looks okay now, but we find out the real beauty, hopefully, of it. I use Danish oil to finish my picks. So this is the Danish oil going to be applied, and hopefully we're going to see a lot more colour, a bit of the grain to come out, and whether the last 2 hours or so was well spent. Okay. Colouring up just a little bit, some of the grains coming out, a lot more of the figuring in the woods coming out. One day I'm going to have an experiment with some CA finishes, which shouldn't be too bad to do in the vise, in the lathe. Okay, this is the first coat of Danish oil. It's going to take another 5 coats slowly that have to dry. First one needs to dry for 24 hours. It slowly soaks into the wood, and so I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to work with a terrible. Let's see if we can get a little bit more zoom on there and focus. So yeah, I keep it in the lathe still for some time now. It's going to be in there for some time, just for polishing and until it gets paired off, and then I've still got to make the tip, the flag for this one. So there you go. How do I get it? A little bit of insight into the resin inserts. Quite pleased with that. I wish that the grain had come out a little bit more, but considering where it came from and history, that's a really nice handle. I will show the flag not being made, but I'll make the flag and I'll show the pick fully assembled and finished. Okay, a few days later, and I've managed to make the flag tip for it and get it all assembled. It's only had a couple of hours of epoxy setting in there, so I'm not going to try it out just yet. But I wanted to get this done while I've got a weekend free for some filming. So, considering that started out like that, I did manage to get 2 pieces of this wood while I was out in Spain. I think that's turned out quite nice. I'm really quite happy with it. I wish that the olive wood had a little bit more of figuring in it. It's turned out quite pale. I think my personal favourites are the darker woods, but I do think that the green has gone really quite well with the lighter olive wood. I think olive is sort of generally a yellowy greeny wood. There's a couple of nice bits in that. I do like that sort of little knot that's there. There's another little one there, and there's some figure in just around the tip there. And the resins really worked out quite well. But yeah, the whole purpose of the video was to sort of show how I do that. What's not coming across in the video is how I'm quite pleased with myself, how smooth, completely flush that is. The pick feels lovely in the hand. So I've made my classic small left-hand flag. It's my favourite tip to make. It's what I pick 90% of dimples with. So there you go. That's the finished article. Yeah. So that has been made for somebody as a thank you for something that they did for me. So again, that's it. That shan't go on too much. I'll put that there. Let the camera work out its own focus, and then maybe we can zoom a little. Anyway, I hope that was of interest, and I'm going to cut off now.